that work?
Everyone will know that you're here. So, Kyle, if you're good with proceeding, I think this is as ready as we're gonna get.
Okay, it's Tuesday, March 31st at 5:25. This is the regular board meeting of the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. Pledge of allegiance. Mike, will you lead us?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Potential conflicts.
None.
None. Sue?
None.
Celeste?
None.
Michael?
None.
And none for me. Skylar, do you want to introduce our budget committee candidate?
Yeah, love to. We have public comment
Yeah.
first.
Oh, I'm sorry, is there public comment? Is there any public comment? Go ahead, Bob.
You want to read,
Or you can select a board member to read it. Who just nominated himself.
How am I reading the rules?
So there's a statement that we developed, it's right here.
I read the statement. Yeah,
No problem, but
Bob,
you can read it.
Bob emailed me earlier and I told him he could
Great.
speak on the rules. We're good.
Okay.
Just say it loud enough so Mike can hear.
I can.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Bob Hayden, I live in Cannon Beach. I'm a tax-paying resident of the district and also a patron here at the club, an active lap swimmer, and probably my most important credential for the topic I'm going to talk about tonight, which is a request to endorse the competitive swim team, is I'm Coach Carolyn's husband. And so, but I bring my own credentials. I'm a 20-plus year USA swimming official. I've officiated for probably over 10 or 15 years now, both college and high school meets. I've refereed the Seaside High School meets for the last 5 years. I've also been actively involved in club organizations, volunteer affiliations with 3 Portland-based clubs, doing a variety of different things, and also led the effort to build a pool in Lake Oswego. Got the initial funding for that, did the initial spec work, so that was all the pool work was really done before Scott Edwards got involved, and then had the opportunity to work with Scott Edwards to sort of building that pool, taking it from the school district's propriety into to work with the county. So pretty extensive background in swimming and specifically competitive swimming. And so the reason I'm here tonight is I want to sort of formally request that the board endorse a competitive swim team. And we've talked about this for, I think, ever and ever. Seaside and Astoria used to have a North Coast swim team, reasonably successful. I remember back when I was officiating Lake Oswego, I'd see Amanda and Megan with their kids on deck. Seaside, unbeknownst probably to many of you, actually won the small school state championship in the late 1990s, and in 2000 the women won it as well. So there's a rich tradition of competitive swimming here in Clatsop County and here in Seaside. And we've got this just wonderful facility here. In my opinion, having visited a lot of pools in Oregon, this is one of the better pools in the state. It's got fantastic environmentals, water clarity, the air quality, the maintenance is fantastic, it's super clean. It's one of my favorite places to run a swim meet. And so when I read that, it's at the end of its useful life, I just sort of chuckle and say, that's architects selling you something. This pool is fantastic. And, it's been a frustration of mine, and I've probably shared this with Skylar more times than he wants to remember, that I think this pool is vastly underutilized and it's vastly underappreciated. Kids come out to train with Carolyn and they say, this pool is wonderful, but I didn't even know it existed. And Carolyn says, yeah, because you've never been to a swim meet here. Jack Akins was out last year. Jack Akins is one of the top swim backstrokers in the U.S. He just got 8th in the 200 backstroke at NCAAs last week. He was here visiting and trained in the pool, got a chance to meet several of Carolyn swimmers and say, this place is just awesome. So shame on me, I've never come to the board before and asked for a formal or a request or a sponsorship for swimming, but I know I've talked a lot with Kyle about it. Kyle's interested, and he's got a granddaughter who's a swimmer, and a grandson. Sue, of course, has been actively involved in the swimming community. So shame on me, I haven't been before you earlier. But I was sort of motivated in the last month that when the high school season wrapped up, there was a group of 6 kids that continued to hang out here. And they were showing up every day after school. They were self-organizing. They were swimming. They were hanging out in the lobby, sort of jawing. They cajoled their high school coach to write workouts for them, and they finally convinced us to help them get into a swim at Lincoln City. So we got them registered as individual swimmers, and they went and they took their parents down. Parents loved it, and kids did really well. They were excited. 2 of them qualified for state championships. Went and swam a couple weekends ago at Oregon State Championships, and parents were so excited. They're like, okay, it's time to move. You're just coming off and meet an informal meet with young kids a couple weeks ago that Amanda ran, and I think was pretty successful. I know from Carolyn's feedback, from a lot of the swimmers that she coaches, the parents are saying what's next, where are we going with this? And so, I've been thinking about it, and I want to share some data with you. If just that testimony is not enough, I think this is sort of interesting, and I walk you through this in a minute. But there are 63 teams, USA swimming teams in Oregon, and sort of the Clark County area, greater Portland area. You may say, well, that doesn't sound like that many. Those are probably all teams in Portland and Salem area, Hillsborough, but we're a smaller rural area here. We really can't have a team. Can't afford a team or don't have the interest in a team. Well, if you look at pages 1 and 2 here, these are the teams that are listed in Oregon Swimming. But I went and did a little research, and I sort of sorted these out by county. And if you look, if you look at the 3rd page, you'll see a table that says county population, school-age children, USA teams. You can see for each of the counties in Oregon, the number of teams they have. And you get down to Clatsop County, where we have a pretty significant school-age population. There's no swimming. So over 95% of the school-age kids in Oregon have access to a competitive swim team. Even the kids in Malheur have a summer program, and they have access to Boise YMCA, which is closer than it is for our kids to get out to Forest Grove or Tillamook or St. Helens to participate in a team. Kids out in the Tri-Cities have a summer program, and the kids who are really good swim with the Tri-City Channel Cats. And so we are a competitive swimming desert here in Clatsop County. And, I think that this organization was built as an aquatics district, right? Our patrons expect that we're going to provide, top-notch swimming. And yet, for some reason over the years, I think we've gotten lost. And we haven't, really kept our eye on the ball and what's happening. And, I'm an ambassador for USA Swimming. We have so few pools in Oregon, and almost all of them have swim teams associated with them. And the fact that we don't have a team in this wonderful facility that we've got, and we've got kids that are self-organizing that want to swim. We've got parents that are, we've gotten them sort of trained up through the high school program. They know how to work our equipment. They're excited about going to these meets. We've got a facility now that is ready to be used for competition. That we don't have a competitive swim team here. is just a shame. And I know you're all working actively on a strategic plan. I did listen to a bit of the feedback from the workshop, and I heard, the interest that people had in sort of getting more energy from the kids in this facility, getting them to stay here. This is where we should start. It's just so obvious. It's just sitting right in front of us.
Thank you, Bob.
So,
And we can't ask questions, but we can schedule an ever so brief, I can rearrange.
Well, I'm done. So my request is, I would like to request that the board solicit staff for some feedback. I've already talked briefly to Amanda about this. She's supportive. It won't be the first time that it's been discussed by staff, but I request that you make a request on staff to come back with some sort of a proposal. I mean, really, all I'm looking for at this point is that the staff prioritize this as something that's necessary and important to service the district. And certainly Carolyn and I, the last page of this document is the new club application timeline and process. It probably looks pretty daunting, but we sort of know how to get this done pretty easily. And there's lots of ways to do it. I don't want to be prescriptive. We've got so many resources though here between the staff and the volunteers and the parents, and many different ways that we could go about doing this that really probably wouldn't involve staff at all, or could involve staff to the extent they want to be involved. So there's lots of different ways to do it.
So Bob, we're just going to ask staff to come back with a budget, with a agenda item for this, and maybe the next month or the following month, but sometime soon. But we really can't ask questions during.
No, I'm not.
And we all have a lot of questions. So.
Pay attention to my board comments.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it forward. It's really exciting.
Okay. Actually,
There.
Do you want to bring
a chair up.
more comfortable, and then you can.
We'll shine the spotlight on
There,
you.
yeah.
Did you want to do the letter?
That's after interview.
Okay. One that you decided.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ashley Golden. I grew up on the East Coast. I moved to the Pacific Northwest about 10 years ago. Spent some time in Portland and some time in the Gorge, and I moved to Seaside 2 years ago. And I've been an active patron in this community. I use the pool, I use the fitness classes. We sponsor with Susan Elise, that's where I work, I'm the Director of Sales and Outreach for Susan Elise. So we sponsor Senior Bingo. We've done the Family Fun Dance, where I did Punch. We're involved with the Farmers Market. And we're also helping out with the Easter egg. Yeah.
So, the board has the questions for you, and we're going to start with Catherine with question number 1.
I'm Catherine. Why are you interested in serving on the district budget committee?
Well, like I said, I'm active in this community. I care about what happens in, the programming. I want to serve my community. I think number one, I just want to be an active member and serve. And personally, I think it would be a growth opportunity, personally and professionally.
Thank you.
Hi, Ashley. So here is my question. What experiences do you have in being involved or informed with the district activities and facilities?
Well, I don't think I have a lot of experience with that. Can you repeat the question one time?
Let me put my glasses on so I get it right. What experiences do you have in being involved or informed with the district activities and facilities?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm involved. What did you say?
I said basically everything she said.
Everything she said.
Yeah.
It's like, just kind of repeat what you
Yeah.
said.
I mean, I'm involved, connected with Zoe, connected with Chris Duffy and Betty, yeah. And just aware of what's going on, connected, I guess. I reviewed, last year's budget, that, I was very informational.
Compared.
Okay, yeah. Ashley, thanks for coming and thanks for your interest. So the expectation of budget committee members is that they are prepared for each meeting, become informed about the proposed budget, and be willing to collaborate with the rest of the committee to continue district operations. How do you feel about this expectation?
I think that's the part that really excites me, is collaborating with others. And I think I'm excited about that.
Sounds like you, like just the fact that you took it upon yourself to look at the budget from last year also is that you sort of are lean towards being prepared anyway, so.
Very type A individual.
Michael?
Ashley, what is the most important financial issue facing the district, and why is it important?
Revenue, I think is one part, and and then managing costs. I noticed in last year's budget, personnel came out quite a bit. I also noticed that there's no, marketing, there's no marketing person. And that, I don't know, I thought that was kind of interesting, but I don't think that's the answer to your question.
No, that's a good point you made, though. We have had kind of shuffling leadership in different roles in the district, and, but there is some marketing going on.
We keep trying it different ways.
Yeah, I think
We have our new catalog we just got.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't make it, to be honest. Zoe was like taking photos and had some awkward smiles.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
How often does the budget committee meet?
The short answer is it depends, but typically it meets once a year. If the budget is approved by the budget committee at that meeting, then it's adopted by the board at the end of June, before July 1st. If the budget committee does not approve the budget at that first meeting, then there could be successive meetings to resolve issues that the budget committee might have. The budget committee consists of this board and 5 citizens. So there's 10 people at the budget committee, and typically we've been able to resolve any issues at the first budget committee meeting, but that doesn't mean that there might not be as many as needed, I guess, until the time runs out at the end of June.
I think I've only been part of it once, so we had more than one meeting, and it was a result of it.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to go to, but it can happen.
I will say that first meeting goes very quick.
A lot to go into.
It's hard work. It's hard work. Well, any other questions? Thank you for joining us. I think we will vote on this later on in the board meeting.
Very
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, the letter, I think someone should read this letter out loud. This is very nice. Sue, would you like to read this?
Sure.
I'm very pleased with Holly and Lindsay and Ashley and Annette. Nice work.
And this is from Audrey Knippet, who I see swimming quite a bit. I am taking this opportunity to let you know, and this is directed to Skylar, I am taking this opportunity to let you know that 4 of your employees, Holly, Lindsay, Ashley, and Annette, and whoever else was on duty, were outstanding, see, part of the words are gone, were outstanding in their duties on February 26, 2026. I recently experienced a sudden need for medical assistance in the locker room. They responded immediately, professionally, and with kindness. I was transported to Providence Seaside Hospital as a result of their given response. The outcome was positive due to their intervention. Please take note of their performance and thank them for me. Kind regards, Audrey Knipka. And Audrey is an RN, so,
Retired.
So she speaks from knowledge.
yeah, she's a nurse educator.
She's also a former board member.
Oh,
Yes.
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she was on the board, for a relatively short time. She moved out of the district.
Okay.
Okay, Employee of the Month, Morgan Houston. And Morgan is not here. So, we are proud to recognize Morgan Houston as our Employee of the Month for March 2026. As a dedicated lifeguard, Morgan consistently goes above and beyond to ensure the safety of our patrons. She is reliable, respectful, and always willing to lend a helping hand to both guests and team members. Her determination and strong sense of responsibility help keep our facilities clean, safe, and welcoming for everyone. Morgan's positive attitude and commitment to excellence make her an amazing and valued part of our team. Thank you, Morgan, for everything you do. High five, Morgan. Thanks for doing the thing. Board meeting minutes. There's 2 sets of minutes. The first will be for the February 24th regular board meeting.
And I would like to ask a question. So, you know, it says that I was absent because I was sick. And so I wondered if there is something, because I don't think any of us are like, I'm going to go play instead of do my responsible action. But I wondered if it should say, you know, Sue Coddington, whatever it is, Sue Coddington not present, excused or ill or nothing. Just asking, because I don't know that we've done that with anyone else.
What's the tenor of the board?
I think present and not present is fine. I don't think anybody objections.
Or certainly not.
And honestly, I don't think it's anybody's business, right? But only the board.
And you don't have any obligation to tell somebody if you're sick or not.
No. You tip up.
Exactly.
Are you bringing up that just as sort of as our own self-governance, that we might at some point need to discern if somebody has sort of an excused absence versus
Yeah,
somebody that just is not showing up and doing their, that does happen on boards. We have not had that before, but it does happen on boards.
And I mean, it's a simple, you know, and I leave it alone, say something, say part of something, ill, or don't say ill, say excused, not excused. I mean, there was one time Skylar excused me because my mom literally was passing away. So I missed that board meeting. And there may have been one other.
I missed part of that board meeting too. Although I was there at the beginning,
Yeah, you made the
I hit the
quorum.
wall.
Thank you.
I had to retire.
Skylar, do we have a policy, a board policy on how we record these things?
We just have what has been our standard practice.
Do we have a board policy on if you miss so many board meetings, you're subject to sanction by the board?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We have an adopted set of board member responsibilities, and I want to say that includes attendance at, it could be at the number 9 out of 12, or it could be like 75% of meetings, which this group has been.
Is excused absences included in that discussion?
It's not part of the policy currently.
I was curious. I said, what is best practice for recording board member absences in meeting minutes? Best practice for recording board member absences involves explicitly listing absent directors between excused with prior notice and unexcused absences to maintain legal compliance. Minutes should consistently record attendance at the start, including remote participants, and note the impact on the forum.
Is it the will of the board to update the board policy to make reference to that?
It does say you can define by regrets and absence. Yeah, and then track patterns.
What's the will of the board?
I mean, when I read this, it just
Adjust
made,
ever so slightly the
Yeah.
board policy?
you know, when I read it, it just kind of like, oh, well, I know why I wasn't there, because I was sick. But, it's just, like, when I read this, I went, oh, why isn't she there?
I think it's best practice to log it, like, we don't have a problem now, but you don't want to have to revisit policy if there ever were to be a problem. If
Yeah.
somebody wasn't showing up, right? That's not a very fun time to do it, so to set the expectation now seems reasonable
I
to do
think
it.
it's better to set policy when we're not under pressure.
Correct, right, yeah, I agree. And so-
Okay, I think we just need consensus, and then we'll vote on whatever language comes up.
I motion that we start recording, board member attendance as present or, excused or unexcused
And I second.
in the meeting minutes, I
Okay.
should say.
Is it okay if I
Discussion.
second?
Yeah, it's okay, but I'm just wondering, do we need to change policy? I mean, does
Can you-
that change the
Can we
policy?
restate what that policy was? What does it say currently?
I don't have a policy here, I'm sorry, but I think if we could add this as an agenda item and bring it to you for review and maybe include some possible suggestions as to the motion that was made.
Yeah,
That's what you're like. I think as a general rule, if you are going to adopt something, it should probably have visibility to the public, even though this is a pretty minor thing. So maybe including it as an agenda item would be, more transparent.
But,
Well, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I thought it was relevant that later on in the minutes, under board comments, said Director Hinton was present at the meeting,
Yeah.
but had to leave prior to board comment. Now, that might say that I was excused
Yeah.
to
I
leave
get that.
prior to board comment also. So, I mean, but even though I had to leave the meeting for medical reasons.
Well, I
don't know,
just,
it's
I
a
just want to
point.
make sure that whatever your motion does, that
How about
it
I will
changes the policy.
rescind
I don't
my
think it
motion
changes-
and
so
you
that it
discuss
changes the
next.
policy. Okay,
And I'll undo my second.
okay. Is that, everybody good? All right. The second is the, board,
We still need to approve the meeting.
individually, I guess? Okay.
Yeah.
So the chair will entertain a motion.
I have one more comment on the minutes.
Okay.
There's a typo on, approval of board minutes on, page 2. It says board workshop. I'm sure that should be board workshop.
Well, I don't know about you, but I was in the ship. Workship.
I motioned that we approve the meeting minutes from February 24th with the correction to board workshop
Is there a second?
on page 2.
I'll second.
All in favor? Catherine? Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Michael? And I'm aye as well. So the board workshop minutes from the March 17th workshop, do I have a motion or discussion?
I motion that we accept the board workshop minutes from March 17th, 2026.
Is there a second?
One second.
All in favor? Catherine? Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Michael? Kyle? Aye. Motion carries. Financials. Any questions on the financial statement?
I had 3 questions on who's who. Do you know what LJL Incorporated is? And it isn't very big, it's just, I didn't.
I do. We contracted out for the family dance, we had a company come in and, provide the photo booth for us, so that's the name of the company.
And what is Finis?
It's an aquatic, material, like, they provide, different aquatic, equipment, I guess, for some of our aquatic programs. So we have, you know, a pretty regular order with them, monthly, if not more frequently.
And Bowman?
That is
Consulting.
the, formerly the FCS group that is doing our systems development charges work. That should be the last payment that we make. You had already paid out the contract, but remember, we needed some additional, figures provided, and so we amended the agreement, and that's the amount that, is needed to cover their time.
Any other questions of Skylar?
Well, I had a couple questions, on the revenue and expense report, kind of, wondering, where we're headed for the end of the year. Aquatics, do you think the revenue is gonna pick up in aquatics? I mean, doesn't seem to be, keeping up with the program, and also, of course, obviously, the SRC is still struggling for revenue. We'll probably not make it, so how is that gonna affect the, end of the year?
Yeah, great questions, Mike. I think, aquatics should pick up. You should see a healthy, uptick there for some aquatic programs that occur over the winter months and were billed typically at the end of, high school sports season, for example, or school swim lessons. That's where a bulk of our revenue comes in, and some of those either hadn't been billed or haven't occurred yet, but we're into that season right now with school swim lessons happening every day. So I think that number will jump pretty significantly next month.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the SRC, that number will improve for sure, but it definitely will fall far short of the, annual budget. I think that's a result of some pretty hopeful and lofty grant aspirations that were included in that budget, that haven't at least developed quite yet. And even though, like I shared, I think in my update, we got a grant, a week or two ago, we're just not experiencing the significant grant funds quite yet, so.
Do you think the cost of our programs and our revised fee structure are affecting revenue? Within district, out of district,
It's like a
increases?
big, heavy, expensive question, Mike. I think that there is, starting to be some evidence that our current fee structure, is not maybe, going to produce financial sustainability for the district. There's lots of other contributions or factors that are, impacting the budget of the district, including rising energy costs and personnel costs significantly. But I think the fee structure, there's a fair amount of evidence after, I think, about 18 months or so, that it could be impacting, especially aquatic and fitness programs. Our youth programs remain very popular and full, more generally full, but aquatic programs and memberships, for either aquatics or fitness or both, have been impacted, potentially by the fee structure change.
Is impacting demand?
Yes.
Do we have, is that something like that we could do some analysis on to actually
Yes.
see where we are
Yes.
based? Because is it a matter of a difference in, because I can't quite remember, but we lowered some in-district
Yeah.
costs,
In-district costs were lowered a little bit.
and we elevated
Out-of-district were-
out-of-district costs. And so it'd be great to be able to see some analysis
Yep.
of,
I think there's a lot of, opinions and, early evidence maybe that that's the case. I have asked staff to monitor, I guess, that, development, because I think we don't have enough data really to show, what's impacting, it specifically. The fee structure I mean, it hasn't really been enough time, I think, for us to really say it's attributable to this thing. So we're kind of just monitoring it right now, and our hope was to bring it to the board with some analysis opportunities about 2 years after the fee structure was implemented, which would be in September of 2026. If the board wants to review it sooner, we can do that for sure.
What I'm wondering is if it's possible just to be sales, like, do we know how many open swim sales, for instance, that we, like, I mean,
And compare it to the year
just
before.
compare year over year what
Yeah.
sales are. I think one of the pieces, there are some places where I think there's gonna have more impact than in other places. And so like one place that I'm just really aware of, is that if we're upside down on our youth services,
Mm-hmm.
it really impacts us because there's,
What do you mean upside down?
if we're not bringing in, if we're spending more, in other words, the more youth we serve, the more financial deficit we run. Currently.
But we're in the business of serving.
Like childcare, the more childcare, the more children we take, because we don't break even. So the more we bring in, the less, the tougher our financial situation is, right? And it's the biggest piece. Youth services staffing is like one of the bigger pieces of pie that we have, that and aquatics, those two areas, right? There's other areas like events, I'll say, for example, that don't really have that much impact. If we have 50 extra runners in a turkey trot or 1,000 extra people that come to farmers market, that doesn't affect our revenue quite so much. But youth services and aquatics are the places when there's a gap. I mean, when you look at the percent spent, I always go to the aquatics and YC first, and then I also look at SRC and those costs that are associated, because those are the ones that tend to affect our bottom line the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good feedback or good discussion. I think it's important to note that, yeah, the youth programs, even though it's labeled YC, is not a revenue generator for the district, and I think that that's the message that we've sent to the public, is that we're okay with that, but especially when we add particular programs for younger children, for infant and toddler care, when we added that program or expanded that program, like Mackenzie shared, and when we have preschool, because of the licensing and the ratios that we have to maintain, they're hard to get close to the break-even point, unless we're going to substantially increase the fee for those programs. So I think those are discussions or decisions that are always going to be at the top of our board and like our sheet, our chalkboard to make those decisions, and to keep that balance fair and keep the approach that we take really mindful of the budget considerations, but also trying to serve the population that we have and not price out those folks.
I mean, there's a reason we're in childcare that is because childcare is really expensive and people can't afford to pay what it actually costs to run a childcare operation, thus the childcare places in the whole.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford to subsidize childcare unless we've got some money funneled down from some governmental grants. You know, they're substantial, especially out of district. Do we charge the same for out of district for childcare?
No, we don't.
Yeah, we charge a lot more. And most people tend to buy into the district if they're paying for childcare because it makes it cheaper. I mean, I know I have families that do that. What was I just gonna say? Grants. I think if I remember, the reason we hadn't been able to go after a lot of the grants was because of occupancy and our, getting our licensing, correct? So,
That's a part of the grant process for that program, for sure.
But we could pursue grants to help us get there. I mean, to get through the licensing process, that would be a possibility grant.
Well, Darren's pretty active in, seeking out and obtaining grants.
He does a good job. But back, it must have been around 2005, maybe it was sooner than that, that childcare program that we were having, that we had was $100,000 in the red.
Well, I
And
mean,
it closed.
I look at the childcare has been a problem since, you know, I don't know, I mean, when you had families, the grandparents and parents and the nuclear family was close together, you could farm out your child to a relative. You know, when we moved here 30 years ago, the reason Laura wound up on swim team is because Mary Blake, I just happened to follow the bus and because I found out, oh my gosh, my child is gonna go home for an hour a day by herself and she's 6. Not gonna happen. So I followed the bus, went, what is this building? Oh, it's a pool. I walk in, Mary Blake is at the desk, and I said, help. I start work tomorrow, and I didn't know that my daughter wasn't gonna be in school till 3:30 until today. Can you help me? And she said, we sure will. We're gonna take care of your daughter. She's gonna sort of come in, check in with me. I'll shuttle her off to get ready for her swim lesson. And that's how Laura got childcare. And I mean, honest to God, I was so grateful. And I remain grateful because that started a lifelong love of swimming. But honest to goodness, it was scary. And that was 30 years ago. And it's still the same story, and just more money and less resources.
Well, Celeste makes a good point, you know, we're spending about $800,000 and we're collecting about 40% of that in revenue.
Yeah, and I think it's a gap, and Darren and I actually had some discussions on the fundraising, that I think one of the pieces that I think is important and that the strategic plan should help us with is to publicly state our priorities, like including this idea that we want to help with childcare in this community, that we see that as part of our role, and it's an important part that we're behind, and help us make that case to funders. Because I think what we need to make sure is that our grant revenues, that we're not just chasing new stuff that we can install or buy, that instead that our grant proposals ought to be filling gaps that are strategic.
And it's operational,
identified.
it's operations, it's not,
Right.
it's not bricks and mortars.
Yeah. I mean, it also bricks and mortar, right? Because we're also covering, the SRC has a lot of expenses. I know that we keep trying to move the finish line of getting occupancy. And that's a place we're leaving.
Yeah.
So the will of the board, look at this at the 2-year mark that Skylar said?
Do we want to wait for 2 years?
I don't have the data. I don't know what,
We can
Is it-
compile a report.
is it getting
sooner than
worse,
2 years
or is
if
it
you'd like.
getting better, or, you know, I don't know what's happening, so.
Sure.
I mean, I have a patron right now who's gonna be talking to Darren, who wants to talk money. Why is it so, why is the fee structure what it is? I don't have I told him, you know, I will refer you, so Darren and he are gonna have a conversation. So there are people and he's not dealing with childcare. He's just dealing with his own situation and he and his wife, and wants to talk.
Concerned that it's expensive, or what's
It's
the
too
concern?
expensive, and I'm gonna stop coming to the pool, or I'll go up to Astoria. That's what he
Is it
must be out of
rented?
his district.
Yeah.
No, he lives down the street.
Okay, any other, comments?
I just
on
I do have a
finance?
question. The Broadway Field Fund, I'm just noticing that it looks like we don't have funds coming in for that. And is there a reason in
I think probably the reason is that probably almost all of that budget allocation, the $35,000, is for our partnership with the school district.
Right.
And we usually just bill them towards the end of the calendar, or towards the end of the fiscal year. So we probably
Okay.
haven't billed them yet. So the funds that you see in there are probably for the other renters that we may have had, or special things
Yeah.
that occur on the field. And
Okay,
the
just
bulk
want
of
to
that-
make sure that we didn't have the
Yeah.
issue because we have the super, the school district is
Yeah.
departing, and I just want to make sure that we don't lose any momentum in
Yeah.
our,
Should have been
IDA.
going.
I think it would be a concern if we didn't have a really great intergovernmental agreement in place, and we had revisited that agreement, I think, in January, and both parties signed the agreement. We have to, or at least we have to review it annually, so we did that in one of our IGA committee meetings. And, yeah, I think we have, if you remember, we had a set amount for the first year of the agreement and then percentage increase every year after. So it took us a while to get there, but we're locked in to that.
And that's seasonal, the payment is seasonal, so we'll get it before the end of the fiscal year.
We will bill before that. We get it after, but yeah.
but it does bring up a point, I mean, whether or not we want it to try to land in this fiscal year, whether that's, something that we
Yeah.
have fiscal control.
I would say bill sooner rather than
Bill
later.
sooner, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And the school district is gonna wanna pay for it out of their fiscal year too, right? They're not gonna wanna push it into next year.
I know that we
concern
have-
that I would have is that I know that there are some people in that office that make those decisions that are on extended leave.
Mike,
I move that we approve the financials.
is there a second?
I'll say,
All in favor, Catherine?
aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
And Kyle is aye as well. Strategic plan update. I think I'll just turn it right over to Celeste.
Sure.
You wanna carry the ball on this?
Just I guess to read into record that we had our workshop, got some excellent feedback, from the whole team and some of the staff folks who attended. I am still parsing through all of that feedback to develop a revised draft, and the goal, it will be then to circulate that revised draft to all the participants in the workshop. And then the next round of edits would be digitally submitted, and I'll be the collector of those and do a post to final draft. So that's the timeline. I'm hoping to get the new revised draft within the next 2 weeks out to you all, if not sooner. So by the middle of April.
Well,
I'll provide about a week to turn it around, ask for revisions within about a week or so, and then hopefully by the end of April, we can have it.
I think you're doing a great job.
it's awesome. There is some text though that we're gonna have to fill in. It couldn't just be copied over from,
Yes, they were.
Well,
Water
you know, some of the stuff we just took from the master plan, right? The background information, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I actually have already produced,
You
some of
and
it's
you
already
produced
in
some
here.
text, yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that, but there will be other places where we're gonna need to beef up some explanations.
absolutely.
So it won't just be Scrivener's errors that we're
No,
correcting.
that's
It'll
why I
be-
think we need at least 2 more rounds of
Thank
edits.
you.
So I think
Thank
the
you.
next version
Mhm.
is, again, that you all will be looking at heavy content
Thank you.
decisions, and that, we'll do the Sue level of proofreading for grammar and cross T's and dotted I's, but that isn't until the next revision, right?
Right.
So at least two more revisions. I also think, as part of the next revision, I would propose that we share with SEA, and get their, input
Turn on.
about it. Just because they've been involved in this process along the way, they are going to be responsible for a master plan that dovetails into this particular piece, and so I would just propose that we share early before finalizing.
It'd be terrible if, we produced a draft and they came out and said, well, this isn't accurate, this isn't
Correct.
accurate,
That's right.
this isn't
That's right.
accurate. So
Yeah.
have them bless
Or make
their
suggestions.
truth.
Right.
Okay.
If I may, I think, from my understanding, I think that was their hope as well. And I think that's kind of what they wanted to, use part of our time. We have some time scheduled with them next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Uh,
Next Tuesday? So I'm gonna try to have the revised draft before that meeting, a couple days.
I think my recollection of our time with them was that the bulk of the time would be used to revising the master plan or
Yeah.
them showing the improvements. But I think also we wanted to introduce the changes that we made to this document as well.
Can you
Make
do
sure
that
that
by
they
the
were-
7th?
Yeah, I can, because I'm already halfway through it, yeah.
And I can help, if you need help, just let me know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
might take it up on a.
That's okay, I can write.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on that. Thank you again, Celeste,
Mhm.
and everyone else that participated in the workshop. That was.
Can we go to print on this by the end of the fiscal year, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think because part of it is, and actually, 'cause I've been meeting with Darren on a semi-regular basis about grant writing, and I really feel that we need this strategic plan in place to do our best grant writing. Like, I think they need to, again, be
I agree.
hand in glove. Otherwise, it feels too willy-nilly that we're just sort of going after, not exactly, because we came up with some priorities in the meantime, before the strategic plan, that are informed by Darren, informed by Mike, what I hear on the board. I think Darren also ran by you, Skylar, to think about what those priorities are. So it's not really willy-nilly, we actually have some direction on priorities. But we're a little bit in this in-between space until we get those proposals.
So the grant tours don't like the Yosemite Sam approach to.
Right, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the strategic plan draft?
I just comment that I think what she's doing is brilliant,
It's out of this world.
and I appreciate your support as well.
SRC occupancy process.
Yeah, so, I think, as I shared, we received, testing and balancing, that's what TAB report stands for, recently, and we've begun the process of analyzing that report and trying to understand what, systems in the SRC are working and are functioning well and which ones need improvement. I think everyone that's been in the building since, well before we acquired it, knew that the building would have some deficiencies. But overall, there's areas that performed really well. There's areas that performed almost too well, with more air ventilation or more air circulation than is required. And there's some that are need to be improved, need to be adjusted. I have a meeting with our architect, Tim, next week, and one of the things that we're going to talk about is how to present this information to the city. We have shared it with the city so that they know that we're still actively working on this process. But one of the things that I'm pleased to see is that a lot of the, we went through the report with the consultants that we hired, and essentially we'll try to summarize some of what they shared. There's an amount of airflow that's required for each room as per occupancy, but that number of people per room is the maximum, what we had submitted to the city before is the maximum allowable amount of people in that space. So it's what the fire marshal puts on the wall that says, up to this. And a lot of those numbers were based solely on square footage of the room and not based on what we're actually going to use the room for. So, for instance, preschool classrooms are around 1,500 square feet. We can have, I think it's 53 people in those rooms. We will probably never have 53 people in each room. We certainly can't have 53 preschoolers in that room. Licensing would require us to have 15 preschoolers and maybe 2 staff. So we can change those numbers and resubmit to the city, and the airflow that is currently working in the building may be enough for that lower threshold of people. There are some places in the building where we know that the system will need to be improved, and it might be a fairly inexpensive improvement, adjusting the dampers or cleaning out the ductwork. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Duct cleaning is good, it will help airflow.
Yeah. But there's other spots in the buildings that either don't have a system operating, such as Gym 1, or the entire west end of the building those classrooms, they have heating, but there was never any air circulation built into the building system. So, the old way that the teachers got around that is to turn the heat on and open the windows, and that creates enough airflow. That's obviously not sustainable, but in terms of those classrooms, when we submitted information to the city before, we labeled all of those rooms as classrooms, and we're not using those as classrooms right now. We may not ever use those as classrooms, maybe in the future we might. So if we submit again and we relabel them as storage space, then we don't technically have to have the air ventilation or the airflow that a classroom would have to have.
Isn't that where robotics is?
Robotics is down in one of those classrooms then, and that might be one of those classrooms. Maybe we build we install I don't know what they're called, the smaller air movement units that are common. You see they're wall units, and they have ventilation included as part of that. So anyways, I think it's really promising. We had good feedback from not only the contractors that performed the report, but from Interface, who we used before in our process. And again, like I said, we're going to meet with Tim next week on Tuesday to talk about next steps.
So I noticed some of those, I read the report pretty well. I noticed some of those units, rooftop units, I assume, were, rusted shut, in that the screws were rusted out so they couldn't look inside. Well, why didn't someone drill out the screws so that they could become accessible? Is that something that a technician has to do, or is that something staff can do to facilitate the work? And I know that some of the units seem to be set on air conditioning only. So that, if that was on air conditioning all the time, that would be a huge energy draw.
Yeah. Probably don't have the technical answers to those questions, Mike, but I can get more information from you. From what I understand, the units that you're referring to in the first part of your question are probably over Gym 2, and they, I think the previous owner of the building had a practice when a unit would fail, they would leave the unit on there and just build it or install another unit on the space as a cost saving measure. And so there are, I think, 3 units on that space, and only one is operable, and it's not functioning very well.
I expect some of the problems could be relays within the system and the thermostats, controls rusted out and gone through.
Some of these reports, there was a broken drive belt. A lot of systems weren't modulating. I'm not sure what that means. It's not modulating between heating and air conditioning?
Great question, Carl. I'm sorry. I wish I could answer that with confidence.
But I mean, why can't we fix a drive belt and, modulate the things?
Yeah, like I said, there's a whole batch of inexpensive changes that our staff could do, or we could contract with. We have worked a lot with Diamond Heating on the building, and they've been great, and we know the building really well. There are some things that would require more significant investment to improve, like the installation of units that we don't have, or some of the other things that are needed for bigger spaces in the SRC.
I mean, I was trying to read through this, and, I mean, imagine my glee when they actually have a table of contents that has definitions, and then half the definitions went on there of things I look for, and I'm like, oh, darn. But, I mean, I was just curious about the phrasing in found condition. It's like, found like deficient?
Before it was updated.
That's the way it is.
Found like,
The way
as
that
is?
Yes.
In situ.
As is?
Yep.
Okay.
Latin will be like in situ, as we find it.
Well, I can talk about that, but as found, it's just a little strange.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Do you need any direction from the board on this?
No, I'll keep you
Okay.
posted. Yeah.
SDC.
A short update here.
Sorry, I just before we move on from that piece of business, so can you just summarize again sort of so where are we in?
Yeah.
like, what, what is our expectation for, are we just, we have the report back, right, from the city, and so we're just working our way through, or what's the next step?
Sure. So, great question. I think, part of, a fair amount of my time has been catching our architect and getting us aligned. We had great cohesion with Brandon, and when he left, obviously there's going to be some time of transition. We also have lost 2 owners reps now, and we got our owners rep and us on the same page. So I think what is next for us is to resubmit a plan to have the city give us a temporary certificate of occupancy, and I think our hope was to leverage what information we were able to obtain from the testing and balancing report, along with our planned uses of the space, including revisions to the original plan that Brandon had submitted, which called for full usage of each space, like full activation, based on the maximum number of participants in those spaces. So we're submitting a revised, I don't know what it's called, Celeste, a revised plan.
Request or
building
whatever plan, okay.
use, yeah, to the city, and saying, here's what we've done, and by the way, as you know, we've also completed all of the fire alarm work. We've done this door project that you required. We've taken out these exit doors that you asked us to do. So we're hoping that this is,
That those pieces
are enough to get us at least a temporary certificate of occupancy. And
Okay.
as part of that documentation or letter to them, that we present a plan to the city and say, it's our plan to make these other improvements on this timeline. And that could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be something else. We know that HVAC is probably going to be a big task for
Okay.
us financially, and also something that they expect of us to check off in the next 12 to 24 months.
Are we on the clock?
We are. They're being, right now, I think because of our transparency in the process, and we're trying really hard to communicate with them and share regular updates, and because of their patience, we're okay right now. But we probably honestly, we're in overtime, if you want to look at it that way.
Well, how long does our permit last?
Oh, our permit, let's see here, Brandon,
Thought it ended at the end of this fiscal year.
it might be end of fiscal or it might be calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
do we
that
have,
would be a nice thing to get.
do we have to re-permit this as part of this, testing and balancing process?
Yeah, I don't know what that process is for them to extend it or something like that, I don't know. Because the city also has new people, don't they? Don't they have a new person now that we're gonna be dealing with instead?
Yeah.
And have we had,
Two people.
yeah, and have we had discussions?
We have,
There,
we've
okay.
had regular, and like I said, the building official that they have now, as well as the community development director, have been in great communication with us. They've stopped by, we've worked with them on some other projects, including the fitness room at the pool, and improving the playground safety with the boulders that we talked about, and they bring this up and we talk openly about it, which is a different environment than we had before.
But that's partly what, to me, what makes it hopeful that maybe if we, with this update, and I'm just wondering if there's any assistance from the board. I recognize, because you're juggling a lot of new people and stuff, but, and if there's any assistance from the board that do help establish some expectations or deadlines or something like that to try to drive some of our business forward,
Yeah.
and not just lose momentum.
I completely agree. I don't know exactly what to ask for, but I think maybe it would be great for us to set a goal of having something like, maybe if we want to put ourselves on the clock a little bit, of having a temporary certificate issued for the building by this date. And I honestly think the end of the fiscal year is a really good goal that could maybe push us a little bit, but is obtainable.
It may be already cast in stone with the permit, because the permit's only good for
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah. I can get back to you on that. Maybe when, Tim and Sid are here next week, or when they visit with us about this, we can use part of our time for that. So I really think the architect and the owner's rep are the two pieces that aren't here, but, yeah, I got to meet, our new owner's rep this week, and I think, there's good things coming for us. On that front.
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about setting deadlines is that once you set the deadline, then we'll use all the time in between to get there, you know? Always takes more time.
Yeah, I think part of, sorry, just to that piece, and also, like, I don't want our architect to move on. We have this master planning process, which is sort of sparkly and shiny, and it's the new vision for things, and we need to get this over the finish line before we can really move into that. That's, as a board member, that's what I'd like to stress to them, is that we gotta wrap up the occupancy thing, that we can move forward.
Well, there's certainly a lot of plates spinning right
Yeah.
now, it seems like.
Mm.
SBCs?
Short update, we received the final report from our consultants, and that's been posted on our website and printed and made available in all of the district facilities. We're working on those intergovernmental agreements that we'll need with the city and the county to collect the SDCs. We have needed to make some assumptions on what those agreements would look like, but I think that work is going forward. And again, we're planning on having that public hearing for SDC, similar to the one that we did in August on May 26th, at which point the board would be able to formally adopt the resolution to start collecting SDCs, and we're working forward on a timeline of starting to collect those after July 1st. So all that work is happening. I don't really have a lot of updates, but at that May meeting, it's just something that will be a part of the meeting as it was in August, if you remember.
And then, what was the 90-day window
Yes.
that we had?
So you have to provide public notice of the public hearing, and you have to give 90 days. So
Public notice.
Yeah, we did that notice in January, actually, and then we have to have 60 days where the full report is available. And that's why we needed the report within the last couple of weeks, and we've published that and made it available.
Awesome. So we're gonna meet all the timelines required?
We are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
When was locker room flooring?
I don't have an update, only to share that we haven't had any accidents to speak of in the last 30 days or so, or at least since the last board meeting. The correspondence that you received, there was a rumor going around in certain circles that the patron who was injured actually slipped and fell in the locker room, but that was not the case. She had a different medical situation that was unrelated to a slip or a fall. She didn't fall because of the locker room floor or anything like that. So at this point, we're still kind of exploring some options. We've talked a little bit about mats. We've worked with some other pools again to get some more information. I'm actually going to go look at another pool in Malala at some point in the next few weeks. Not specifically just for that, but just check out the flooring in their facility. And I know we have one staff that's going to go to the LORAC, which is the Lake Oswego Recreation Aquatic Center that Bob was talking about. That was recently opened. It's been maybe 6 months now, I think, since they opened.
Cool. Do you think you're gonna try to control things like air conditioners and things like that? I've noticed, we found out that information that Eugene and Greater Toledo pools, where they reducing slip falls by not using, banning conditioners and those things.
I really like the approach that we've taken right now in the locker rooms, signage that asks for patrons to be mindful of the products that they're using and use as little product as possible. I think we put staff in a really uncomfortable position when we have rules and policies like that, because that requires, unless we're just gonna look the other way, say that we have a rule about it, but it creates a lot of the potential for uncomfortable situations to have staff policing behavior like that in a locker room space. And I think it would probably be a point of contention with some of our patrons. So I think asking and hoping for a better outcome. I don't know if the slips and falls, the diminished amount that I feel like we're seeing is because of the signage. I don't know if I can say that. But I think that's a great approach to start with. And if we start having a lot of those types of incidents, then maybe we'll need a more proactive response.
Have you managed to find, as Kyle asked last time about standards?
Is it legal? Is it code?
Code.
It is code as far as we can say. The building official has been in the space before, not recently because they don't regularly come around. We also, as I shared, we had our SDAO risk management consultant come and check out the building. We've had lots of other folks, I mean, it's an active space. It's, like Bob said, it's a busy space, maybe not as busy as we'd like it to be, but, nobody has come to staff and said that this is significantly more unsafe than any other locker room surface. I don't know how to necessarily verify what the information that Kyle got me. I think was great and it was helpful, but I don't know who to go to.
Yeah, there is a code.
Yeah.
But who enforces it? We just don't know.
Yeah. And
Maybe the building inspector?
Certainly when the building was constructed, we had the building official. I mean, this was before my time, but I'm sure that he came and used the locker room space and we could have him come back. That would make a difference.
Well, we sort of fell down the track of, is it slippery? And we should have been going down the track of, is it legal? I mean, do we have are we meeting the law? And I guess the law would be the code, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good, I mean, if it's slippery, of course we need to do what we can to make it not slippery, but I think our obligation is to make sure we're that we're legal.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point and defensible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the other piece, like, I think one thing, Skylar, is for us to be maintaining a log of, or to make sure that we can put together all of the ways that your team and this board have worked to address any concerns that are brought forward in a responsible manner, right? Like, that to me is the defensible part, that we actually can show that we have not blown off concern for this, right? That we've rigorously, and then I'm also kind of curious, like, and only if this was a very quick and easy thing to do, but I'm wondering if our attorney at SEAO could tell us, are there instances where this turns into lawsuits or other risks for an organization?
Sure.
And or, because now that I'm thinking about it, like, when you
Well,
brought that up, like,
SDIS.
or SDIS, or
Yeah,
whatever
the
it is, yeah.
insurance people.
Or whether this is sort of one of those things that you sort of know the risk of going into a swimming pool, that there's going to be water on the ground and there's slipperiness, and that it's sort of a consumer beware kind of situation, and that we don't have, because I also am aware, like, I want to listen to patrons' complaints, do I hear in my head about that, right, like that every complaint is a gift, and we can't have a single patron drive our energy and our resources in one direction. Like, that also is not good strategic planning.
I will add that I've pulled Savannah in, or Lindsay, and I call it puddle patrol because it was at that point a few months ago discussed that, oh, have you seen the locker room at 11 o'clock? I go in every day, 5 days a week at 11, and I'm there. And so, and I've talked to Courtney that if no one is in, if the locker room space is completely empty, I have taken pictures, I have passed those on to Courtney, because there's only one small puddle over by the middle of the bath, the toilet area. And the rest of it is, at 11 o'clock, barely wet. And I have, unfortunately for me, I've kept the same shoes that I originally slipped in, when when Justin was here, and I'm not slipping at all. And so I would like to get rid of those because, eventually they'll disintegrate. But the thing is, I'm trying to find, am I slipping? I am not. And I don't want to dismiss somebody else's complaint or concern, but I want to say, I'm in that space 5 days a week, and I don't see slippage, and I don't see my own slippage either. I am really grateful for the sign. I know, our patron didn't think that was, I don't know what she thought, except she, thought it wasn't much. But I think it is significant because it is different. So while people do go sideblind, this is a new sign, and it's like, I think people have looked at it. I asked 2 or 3 people from my class, hey, did you notice that sign? Yeah, it had several things, so we read it. So I think it was helpful, is helpful. And I think we're trying.
Well, the goal is we don't want people to get hurt.
Right.
And I've fallen in the shower, probably all of you have fallen once in your lifetime in the shower, and it's scary, so. But what we can do, I guess, is, what we can do is just make sure we're following the code and the law. And
I will have a conversation with the building official and see if they could come and.
or if there's a plumbing inspector, I think it falls under the plumbing, code, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on. I want to.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
You mentioned earlier that we would have a vote for the
Yeah.
budget committee.
I've got it written down here, that's what I
Are
was
we
gonna
gonna do
say.
that?
I was gonna ask to amend the, agenda to add a vote from the budget committee member under new business.
I motion that we amend the agenda, combining words, different times. Amend the agenda to add a vote for the budget committee member under new business.
So that'll be the second, height.
I'll second.
In new business.
Aye.
Aye.
Sue, Celeste.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Kyle is aye. So, audit RFP.
Yeah, so this is, something that we have discussed. We knew, prior to Rick, the auditor, that he was here with us last board meeting. We knew prior to that meeting that was gonna be his last audit that he was able to complete with us. I want to provide just a little backstory. When I got here, we had an auditor that was from Eastern Oregon, and she would come to the district. This was back before the technology and before it was commonplace for auditors to just do their work
Just rode her
remotely.
horse into town.
Yeah, she would come and she would spend a week with us, and she ended up switching careers to a different type of accounting. So then we put out an RFP, and it was bid on by a couple of firms. We selected a firm, and the relationship that we had with them was challenging from the beginning. We went through, I think, 3 audits with them, and it wasn't like, it wasn't an ideal
That's the one when
experience.
I started, because they
Yeah.
were super late.
Yeah, and then I think the final nail in the coffin was that they were around, I want to say 4 or 5 months late
It was a long time.
for an audit, and
Yeah.
that obviously is challenging for us.
There's a state law that governs that.
There's a state law, and we filed for an extension and things, but what it was impacting was the ability of staff to put together the budget, because we need those final numbers. So we elected to go out for another RFP. We didn't get any responses, and then we basically got Rick's contact information from the city and begged and pleaded with him to apply, and he was the loan basically submission. So
But,
it's
good
been
work.
terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great work.
I think we just finished, I want to say either year 4 or year 5.
Yeah.
So we were worried when he told us that we would have a challenging time, and I think the city was worried too. He's been auditing the city for, I want to say, around 20 years.
Wow.
So we worked with the city, the finance manager, our director of finance, Zach, there to compose this RFP, a joint RFP, for audit services. And, still in draft form, but Zach was messaging with me today that they're ready and hoping to have it, issued by the end of the week.
So, how does that work for, like, people will submit their bids, and then is the city voting, and then whatever the city chooses, we get, or are we also voting separately? Like, how does,
So I can't speak for how they're
we've
gonna
never
do
done
it.
this before, so.
Us neither. In the RFP, we asked for the bids to be submitted both to, the representative from the city and to a representative from the district. I think the board could choose to proceed a couple of ways. They could authorize staff to work, on their own with however the city decides to do it, to evaluate the proposals after submissions close. They could appoint a designee from the board to participate with staff on that, or we could review the RFPs altogether as a board. That's typically what we've done with other RFPs in the past.
I'm just curious to, like, since it's a joint thing, if the city of Seaside chooses candidate A, and we do our normal process, and we go, well, we like candidate B better, how does that work for this?
Well, Catherine, I think if that happened, what we'd probably do is maybe they could approach candidate A and we could approach candidate B and say, hey, do you want to do this without that?
Okay.
And vice versa, and if the auditor was willing to, we could. I think our sense was that I am fairly confident that they could get proposals on their own because of the scope of work and the cost.
The RFP says we can contract independently.
But I don't know if we could. So we're kind of, in a way, sort of piggybacking, barnacling onto their whale of a budget and hoping that, a little extra work for the auditor, but to make it more efficient for them, they can do this, smaller special district budget and hope that it works. But I agree, I wouldn't be as confident if, we didn't have really good relationships with the city staff that are gonna be on the
job.
Hopefully, it will maintain, but I don't know what process they're gonna do with their elected officials and how they review it. I only know what we've done in the past.
Ideally, we would have a joint RFP evaluation with the city, our staff together evaluating it and coming up with one answer. But the way this is kind of written, we're like an electron orbiting the nucleus, you know. We don't really have any gravity.
We're just piggybacking on our coattails.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But I guess what I would like clarity on, and to be honest, the board has a few weeks if they want to consider this, because we could review at the April meeting. Proposals aren't due till May 3rd, and then we have a couple week selection period that could include interviews. It's just what the board would like their engagement level and visibility level to be on this. If they want to have a designee, if they want to review, if they want the whole board to be able to review, or if they want to appoint staff kind of with that decision, and then to bring the selected firm back to the board.
I like how we have done it in the past, where the board gets to review the proposals and score them and all that.
Okay.
But I would say, since this is a new thing, I would, like Kyle said, I would like to, if possible, be part of with the city, whatever the city.
Joint evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you saying? Whatever they do?
Well,
You wanna
like
do,
if they're gonna have a special meeting and review applicants together, I think it makes sense for us to be at that meeting. But if they're like, oh, we're just gonna, employee X gets picked, I think I would like to review for our district,
Okay.
but that's my lone.
You would like to as an individual, or are you
No.
saying you want the board to be able to?
I would suggest that the board review.
Okay.
And I would agree with that, since they've lost 2 additional council members now. So they're down to,
Really?
and one,
Oh, in that election, in that most recent election?
The one was recalled and one is leaving because she's moved out of district to Astoria. So they're down 2 positions, and they just filled district,
Just built to.
position 4. So these are 2 additional, so I would really like, as new people are coming on in that respect, that we know who we are, and we're invested in a positive outcome with transparency and decorum, but I think we should protect our own, because we know what we have.
Okay.
And, you've got new people coming in that we don't know who they're gonna be.
Yeah.
Or when they're coming.
So I think it would be, if that's the direction the board wants to go, I would encourage us to think about that time period between May 3rd and May 22nd as being, I think that's about 3 weeks or so, that there may need to be some sort of a special convening of this board at least, and maybe other folks to evaluate the proposers.
Well, I agree with Catherine that we should have a board, at least one board member involved in evaluations on, it's high enough level.
Are you volunteering, Catherine?
Well, but my question is gonna be, do we need the whole board to do that, or can we authorize one board member to attend, to ask the questions, and to come back with a recommendation for the whole board?
I don't know, I think it's such an important decision. Like, this is who's auditing our everything.
Mhm.
And everything, our budget is based on them, and I very shortly experienced what a bad auditor can do. And then when we got Hernan Thompson, what a good auditor can do, and it's night and day,
So you think the whole board ought to participate?
I will have my opinion, but I don't speak for the whole board on this, and I don't think it should be everybody.
Okay.
Is my thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we'll probably plan on a special meeting of some kind in mid-May,
Yeah, most likely.
Would that be a workshop?
work session. Yeah.
Still a board meeting.
Is there a difference between a special meeting and a work session?
Work session, you cannot take official
A
action.
vote, right. But you can at
You
a
can
special
take-
meeting.
Yes.
So this would be a workshop probably.
Yeah,
because
just to gather.
We would come back and vote on it
Yeah.
maybe. Okay. Thank you, Skylar. Do you have enough information?
So, yeah, let's just, hope for some good
Okay,
proposals.
the board will entertain a motion for our, potentially new budget committee member.
I motion that we accept Ashley, how do you say her last name, Galvin?
Tobin?
Galvin?
That's how she said it.
Galvin.
It sounded like.
Ashley Galvin as a new, SEPRD budget committee member.
Is there a second? There's a motion to appoint Ashley, Gobbin. Okay, Gobbin. There's a motion to appoint, Ashley Gobbin. All in favor?
Aye.
Catherine, Sue,
I,
Celeste, Mike,
Aye.
and Kyle is aye.
You pass my interview thing down, Skylar.
Skylar, your report.
Oh, yours is on?
oh, no, mine is not.
You want to take? It's okay.
Give me a second.
No worries.
Let's see, did I sign your documents?
Well, I gave you the blank one back, so you could use it.
I left them on over there, yeah.
Huh?
My report is gonna be fairly short, since you all know what I've been working on and what's been going on, but I did wanna highlight a couple of really neat things. This is not included necessarily, but Bob did mention it. We had the opportunity to host a swim meet, on, I think it was the 21st, last Saturday. And that's something that we've been working towards for a long time, but kind of came together, able to host our own swimmers and give them an opportunity to compete against the Astoria similar group. I think Bob's proposal tonight was great in terms of helping us maybe find more opportunities for swimmers to participate in a competitive environment. And look forward to kind of discussing that a little bit more. Also wanted to share a really great resource. As the board, I think, knows, we have 3 internal district committees. We have a risk management committee. We have what we call Startwell, which deals with employee training and employee satisfaction and retention, happiness, and then we have a EDI committee, which is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And these have been committees that we've allocate staff to participate on and work with, and they have some resources from the budget. Our EDI committee recently issued, this is their first issue of the monthly newsletter, and we call it Common Ground. So it's just a lot of really great information about some things that are designed to help bring awareness to inclusion-related matters, help our staff to be more informed, help us as a district to be more prepared to serve our whole community. So I thought it was worthwhile to share it in the board meeting, and just really grateful for the leaders. Typically, our committee structure is features 2 members of our management team as co-chairs, and so the members of the management team that you all have gotten to see and interact with, they take turns or have responsibilities to lead those committees. And then there's other members of the management team as well as part-time staff that are on committees working with them. We've had a busy, I guess, few weeks with lots of a couple of special events, one last month and then a big one coming up on Saturday, but we also have hosted lots of special open swims and things like that, and a busy month of meetings ahead. Again, want to reiterate the opportunity if the board would like to participate, volunteer, or just be around and observe. On Saturday, we have our annual community egg hunt, and we have plans to distribute 10,000 eggs, which is a lot, and we're bolstered the number of eggs this year in response to some of the other egg hunts that had been in our county not taking place this year. And so they're still not doing theirs, yeah. So we don't charge for this event, so there'll be no out-of-district egg fee for
At this
collecting.
moment, it says partly sunny.
At this moment, the weather looks pretty good, so as long as we keep that,
Raise the price.
the annual, or the first hunt starts at 10:30, but there's activities before then, beginning around 9:30. Volunteers, we ask them to be at the field at around 8 or 8:30. And then we have our treasure dive, which is a little bit later that day, and it's a really fun event where we play games with the kids in the water, and then they dive for coins and keys, and there's one lucky key that opens a treasure chest with some cool prizes in there. So we'll have 2 sessions of that. And I think the first is at, I want to say 12:30, so maybe, 12 and 12:45. Thank you. Oh, it's on the flyer.
Yeah, session 1, 12 to 12:45, session 2, 1 to 1:45,
And then
opens then 2 to 3. So it's no longer by age?
We decided to not do that because a lot of folks were confused or missed their age group unintentionally, so we just have 2 sessions. You can go to either one.
Or both? Are we charging for this, because we used to?
Yeah, we have a sponsor that covered the full cost.
Otherwise it would have been
Yeah.
That's free.
And then just note,
Everybody's gonna,
Well, the
Yeah,
egg
but
hunt
free
was
for all?
always free, but they
Oh.
used to charge for the treasure dive.
we will have to cap it,
Correct.
at some point, but yeah, we'll be well staffed to probably take, 75 to 100 kids in each session. But it's a lot of fun. If you've never been there, and if you've never seen
Is
Amanda,
Mary Blake in the pool?
she's not, as far as I know, but if you've never seen Amanda in her element, this is an opportunity. If you know Amanda, she has personality that is fit for this activity and a voice to match. She can command the kids' attention even in a busy pool setting.
Yeah, she projects very well.
And then just note, our budget committee meeting date of April 14th, 2 weeks from today, and our board meeting date of the 28th. I know we're a little bit off because we had 5 Tuesdays in March, and we moved our board meeting to the 5th Tuesday. Mr. Kyle, that's it for my report, unless the board has questions. I do want to note, I guess, and appreciate, as you know, Savannah's taken over the important responsibility of compiling the board meeting minutes, and much to my surprise, she thinks it's easier if she's here in person, so that's why she's joining us in person tonight. She'll probably be at as many meetings in person as possible, just to work on the meeting minutes and also get them turned over quicker than I was.
Yeah, they'll probably be done at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and also just appreciate Isaiah being here as well, so.
Can we back up really quick?
Yes.
The, budget committee meeting, what, do we have a time for that?
Typically do it at the same time as our board meetings, but it has been 6
Last one
as
was
well.
6 to 8.
So, up to you all, whatever you prefer.
I have no preference. I'll be here whatever time is needed. But I'm interested in the citizen members of the committee, what time works for them, because
Maybe we get off.
I don't know what their working situation is
Yeah.
or whatever. I'm happy to meet at time that's convenient for them. But
Well, it seems like, we've done 5:15 for such a long time.
they all should know that that's the
I
time.
mean, if that complies with what they need.
If you'd like, I can reach out to, at least, there's a couple of members of the budget committee that are working and a couple that are retired. Memory serves me well. So can ask Jay and maybe Ashley, the new budget committee member, what might work for their work schedules.
I think all of us are fairly flexible, I mean, other than
I think if we can start at 5 or 5:15, that's
5:15.
better, because then
Yeah.
if the meeting is
Yeah.
long,
Done.
then we won't all be in our pajamas.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm all for it, I just.
I mean, if it
Yes,
goes too long, I gotta go let a dog out to vote.
Well, you just let your dog run around.
I did mine before the meeting.
Hey, it's not coming down here.
That was a bad influence.
My feral dog is running all over the
We
neighborhood.
could all bring our dogs that day and put them
Okay,
in.
okay.
the room.
Have you seen the thing, HR, where, like, stressful situations?
Recording in
I
progress.
understand,
Just making-
I am saying this for the record. For stressful situations, they bring in dogs and you sit and have like a puppy play date so that it brings your stress down. I mean, budget can be very
Have you
stressful.
heard of the Angels
Just
with a
saying.
Leash program at Providence?
I don't talk to Skylar, I talk to Costello.
Well, and you know what,
I have a really
there
nice
was
puppy.
I should be really calm by now.
Well, I think Kenny is well socialized, she'd love to meet
You don't have to put that in the meeting minutes.
I won't.
I've had a lot of dogs, and I am a little bit terrified of Catherine's dog, so that's
Whatever.
he's quite large,
Yes, and he's a sweetheart.
and he growls at me.
Well, you're calm.
He's a good judge of character.
Wait, you want me to bring Teddy
Okay,
down to say
for the
hello?
record, I just recently took him to the vet, and he has not been in a little over a year. And so it was like all new people, and they all, when I went to pick him up, they were like, he is the sweetest dog, we love him so much. So it's just you, it's a you
Okay.
problem.
I wanna get in those good graces.
Okay, let's get back to the board meeting. And, are you finished, Skylar?
Yes.
Okay, board comment, Catherine.
Congratulations to Morgan Houston, that is very exciting. I have, known her for a long time, so yay for Morgan. I am excited to work with Ashley Gavin. We're gonna figure that out.
Thought I had it. I think it's gone.
Gavin, okay. She seems great. I'm very excited to, get involved with the community. And as we all know here, the budget committee members can be a gateway to positions on the board. So, you never know who's gonna leave.
Worked for me.
Thank you to Bob for coming and talking about the, desire for a professional competitive swim team. I have a lot of questions. I think my biggest one is, how does that work? I think the reason we had not done it in the past were staffing, coaching, and then, pool availability. So if we can find a way to resolve those things, I'm all on board. Thank you, everyone.
So I want to congratulate Morgan. I get to see her, up in that lifeguard chair, and she does an excellent job. Also friendly. And I congratulate Bob. We've had inklings and pushings and interest. I mean, my daughter was part of North Coast Swim Club. That's the coat I wear. People ask if I'm from North Carolina. And basically, several years back, we had a meet, the Seaside in Astoria. There were a group of parents that were interested in getting things going. The coach there, Paul Gascoigne, who used to, is retired now, said, hey, I'm just waiting for an opportunity and I'll come back and coach. And so you'd have to verify that that's still an interest because it's been a couple of years. I was every position from parent to meet director to USA Swimming coach or not coach, pardon me, wrong word. I was a stroke and turn judge and I was a starter. And so having a referee and a starter, I mean, my credentials are 10, 12, 15 years out of date, so they have to be rekindled. But having a referee here and a starter, you can run a meet, and then you just get everybody else, and it's workable. I do have a question, a concern that I was told we cannot have meets here because that 3-foot shallow end is a deterrent. And sure enough, we had some kids come visiting, didn't pay attention to how deep the pool was, and a kid dove off he just raced in, dove off the 3-foot, came out with a nice big, burn on his chest. Still competed, but, you just start everything at the other end. But I do have a question as to whether it is legal to have a swim meet here. That's why North Coast Swim Club did their meets up in Astoria, because of that 3-foot shallow end. So
They couldn't do flip throughs.
Yeah,
They couldn't
exactly.
do flip throughs in the 3-foot.
Right.
Doesn't that I need to be bigger?
No.
It's a 25 meter.
25
yard.
So I have a legitimate concern about that, but, I asked Skylar once if we could just bomb the 3 feet and, make it deeper,
Dig a hole.
That passed when we had it refinished.
So anyway, I think it's exciting, having watched, my daughter become a coach. I mean, there's just opportunity, and I love the opportunity that we're talking about it again. We've got some of the equipment now, where we didn't have before, thanks to Bob and, meetings that we had, a couple of years back. I want to just reiterate how much I appreciate Celeste. And Kyle, I know you're part of that, but I just think that what you've done is brilliant to work on this strategic plan and try to bring it home for us. So I am just in awe of your skills. I'm grateful that Ashley wants to be part of our team, and I appreciate the fact that that's springboard to future, people who will be sitting in our position. So I look forward to her input, and I also am so grateful that we do everything we can to promote safety and, just keep up this good work, that we'll figure it out. Another, we have several heavy projects going on, and I just think that we keep offering transparency, we keep a level of decorum, and that is welcome and appreciated. And so that, while we might be hitting our heads against the wall to try to get projects done, we're still inviting people to share their opinions and we move forward trying to remember, you know, every complaint is a gift, but that gift needs to be something that we have an output for. I'm grateful that Common Ground, I mean, that sounds interesting. The question made about how much gossip, you know, I come from a Providence background where you were not allowed to gossip. And frankly, part of my master's application was because we had a man doing a lecture on gossip. And I said, that's not allowed here. And he's like, everybody gossips. I said, no, not if, you know, anyway, short story. Anyway, so I'm just, again, I'm grateful for this team, the skills that we have that are widespread to help promote our environment of come play.
I think as we're heading into spring here, first of all, I'm really excited for the April Easter egg hunt, and just want to note that I think it's fantastic that, I know we've done this in the other things, but it's just so cute. I just wanted to be taking note of how cute the Hispanic version of the flyer is, and I'm just really proud of our district for reaching out to our Hispanic community, that wasn't a one-time thing, that we continue to do outreach like that, and I'm really excited for that. And it just, spring is upon us, and I'm excited, and also just aware that we do have some projects to get over the finish line, like we talked about too. And just really appreciative of you, Skylar, and the team that you keep pushing and moving us forward on some of these big projects that are complicated, entrenched, depending on lots of different parties. And I'm just pleased that we are pushing, continue to push on that. And I think a lot of the reason that we do continue to make progress is because this board is on the same page, and frankly, I feel you give me too much credit, but the fact that we brought in staff and were able to have such a good conversation at the workshop, and the priorities seem to align, there were no big surprises that come out or hit anybody's face from left field. I think that this is an aligned group, and I think that's why we're making progress.
We work well.
Thank you, Celeste. I haven't got too much to say. It was great to get such positive input from Bob Heyman. Very encouraging to the district. Great meeting Ashley Galvin. I think she'll be good. She may be young. She seems very bright and willing to dig in. Shucks, you know, and then the employee of the month, yeah, Morgan Houston. I'm not familiar with her per se, but congratulations. It was great to get that letter from Audrey Mifflin. I had no idea that there had been some kind of emergency, but it's great that our staff could respond to whatever was needed and help them. I'm sure somebody deserves a medal. Thank you.
Well, I got a list of the people that deserve a medal: Holly, Lindsay, Ashley, and Annette. When an RN with a lifetime of experience, you know, honors your people for helping her out in an emergency, I think that means a lot to me. And so if Holly, Lindsay, Ashley, or Annette, if you're out there somewhere, nice work. Looking forward to working with Ashley Galvin. I probably will not ever pronounce that name right. Morgan, thanks for doing what you do. And I'm really happy that Bob came and gave his presentation tonight. It's no surprise to any of you that I'm a big fan of competitive swimming. You know, I don't know how many meets I've been to in the last year, but it is what I've seen. The benefits of swimming, of course, are largely physical, but I know that my grandkids are never going to get into drugs. They're never going to have time for any of that stuff. They're never going to get into crime. I mean, they're up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they get home at 8:15, 8:30. They're exhausted. They're not capable of getting into trouble at that point. But this has established something for them that they'll remember their whole life. This is part of who they are now, and I think if you can give that to other kids, if you can give them something to be a part of that's bigger than them, that's hard work, and you know, you're only scored on your times. There's no style points. There's none of that stuff. It's just hard work at times, and they I'm a big fan of competitive swimming. Now, will it work here? I don't know, because I think there's a lot of questions that we all have about how it would actually play out, and whether we have the infrastructure resources to do that sort of stuff. But if it works out, I think that would be great for our community. Celeste, you know, take my name off the compliments when you're complimenting Celeste, because this is her work. You know, all I do is say, yeah, Celeste, nice work, and I don't deserve any credit for any of the stuff that she's doing, and you're doing an awesome job, Celeste. So thank you for what you're doing. April 20th, I'm going to have surgery. I'll talk about the details offline, but I'll probably be out of commission for at least a couple of days. So Celeste, if you're available in town, it'd be nice to have somebody to cover for me and scout into signatures.
Absolutely, got it.
That's all I have. And I don't need a vote for adjournment, do I?
I move we adjourn.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.